Hello everyone, I'm Steve Russell with the Hoosier Mushroom Society, and I want to talk to you briefly about some of the most interesting finds that we found during the 2017 annual online, the first annual online fall foray. And so we had over 1,300 observations for this event, well over 300 different species that were encountered. You all flagged about 800 of those observations as containing physical specimens, and I've received a whole lot of them, many hundreds of new specimens going into produced fungarium. And even as of last week, I've still been receiving a few boxes of specimens. So if you still have them out there, continue to send them in. But I just want to briefly go over some of the initial, most interesting finds that we found for the event. And so the first one I'll talk about is Gynopolis luteifolius. And this probably represents a first record for the state. It was found by Francis Kerbs Buckley, FKB, on iNaturalist. As I mentioned, it's probably the first record for it in Indiana. It's a beautiful little orange mushroom, grows from wood. I actually got to, I went up and hunted with Frances for a day during this event, and she took me to where that was found, and so I got to see it myself, which was pretty cool. But it's a beautiful little mushroom, probably the first record for the state. Next one is Russula ochroleucoides, and so another possible first record. It's a little, I wouldn't say little, but it's a yellow Russula mushroom that stains brownish, slightly velvety cap surface, mild taste. And we have another species called Russula ochroleuca. Russula, people say it both ways. And so it probably represents another first record. And it's just a fairly common, I would say. MushroomExpert.com lists it as occurring through eastern North America. And so it's probably pretty common, but it hasn't been commonly reported in Indiana. So that was found by Pappas D. Great find. I think she had a couple records of it. So that was a good one to add to our list. Next one is Nagroporus venosus. Once again found by Pappas D. And once again probably a first record for the state. She found it twice in both Marion and Putnam counties. And we're in Indiana, we're probably at the northern part of the range. So I was looking at the range map for the species. It's much more commonly reported in the southern United States, getting down into Missouri, Georgia, Alabama area. It actually extends all the way down to South America, to like Belize and Bolivia. And so in Indiana, we're probably right around the northern part of the range for it. And it's never been reported here. Once again, I think it's probably not that uncommon here. It's just uncommonly reported. So Nagroporus venosus. Really great find. Next one's Clavulinopsis laticolor. Once again, Pappas D. It's a third record for Indiana, so it was reported in 1980 and 1998. I've never found it. Ron Kerner at IndianaMushrooms.com has a few images of it, so he finds it a little bit down in his neck of the woods in the Bloomington area. But it's a small little orange club mushroom, pretty nice little find. Once again, it's probably not that uncommon, but it's just not commonly reported because of its really small size. So next is Halwaya lucida. This has gone under a number of other names in the past. Looking at collections for Indiana, there are probably a dozen or so reports of it pre-1980 in Indiana, so it hasn't been reported more recently. It's been reported under a number of other names. It looks like a little black matchstick with a little white head to the matchstick. And so it's just a small little mushroom, but it's a pretty neat one. Next is Hemifoliota populinea. There's another collection from Ron Kerner in 2015. And so D-Boy found this one, and it's only the second known collection of it from Indiana. So it's a really good find. Next is Leucogloia compressa, found by Momzilla. This probably represents the first record for Indiana. I found it one other time this year, I believe. But we'll go ahead and call Momzilla's the first record for Indiana. It's just a really small, little, almost snot-looking mushroom. It's a basidiomycete. I wasn't sure whether it was an ascomycete the first time I saw it, but it's just a small little clear to whitish, round little blob on logs. And so you can see pictures of it there, but it's definitely a good find, a good one to know. Next is Donkia pulcherrima. It's gotten under a number of other names in the past, found by Pappas D. There were two records of it in Indiana from 1917. I found it once in 2015, so it's not commonly reported. It's gone under Climacodon pulcherrimus in the past, so if you're familiar with the northern tooth fungus, Climacodon septentrionalis, This is like a smaller cousin to it. It has a new name now called Donkia pulcherrima. But it's a small little tooth fungus, occurs on wood, has a shelf-like shape to it, but really good find by Pappas D. Next is Trametes cubensis. And so I only really started to realize that we had it in Indiana this year. Her picture of it here is a very typical look for the mushroom. And so I think I have about 3 more records of it from this last year, going all the way up to West Lafayette, Indiana, where I'm at now. It's typically seen as more of a southern mushroom, so either its range is extending north or it's been here the whole time and we just haven't encountered it very often. So Trametes cubensis, another good one to keep your eyes peeled for. Fomitopsis panicola. It's a really common mushroom, typically in northern latitudes, but it's never been reported in Indiana before. And so Dylan used the name Fomitopsis pinicanadensis, and so that's a newer name for it. I think it's a provisional name, but that's a good record for Indiana. We've all of the surrounding states have records of it. It's very, very common in pine, in conifer areas, but we don't have a whole lot of conifers in Indiana relative to some of the other states, and so it was a really good find by Dylan. Great report, probably the first record for Indiana. Next is Bogbodia uda, and so I think this used to be a Hypholoma, maybe. Francis reported it. This genus Bogbodia was only created in 2013, so it's a relatively new genus. But her images of it probably, it was one of the final candidates for Best Picture for this event. So it's a really great find by Francis, and thanks for reporting that one. Next is Ossicalus lignatilis. And so this is a little oyster-like mushroom. It's found by me. I only started finding that mushroom this year, or at least being able to recognize it this year. So it's the first report of it was last year in Indiana. But it just looks like a little oyster mushroom, but it has its own genus. And once you learn how to identify it, you can pretty reliably separate it from oyster mushrooms. So here's a few images of it, and it'd definitely be a good one to know. The final one I'll talk about today is Mycena atkinsoniana, reported by Mary PZ, and it's likely the 3rd report of it for the state. Ron Kerner has some images of it on indianamushrooms.com, and so I don't see it very often at all. It's relatively uncommon. It's relatively easy to identify once you know it, because the gills, you flip it over and the gills are marginate. The edges of the gills are actually a darker red color than the rest of the gills, and so that's really the key identifying feature for it. Other than that, it just looks like a small little reddish Mycena. And so I thank you all for those who contributed. There's going to be a whole lot more interesting finds coming in the future as I start getting the DNA back and have more time to give more of these specimens further study. So this is just a quick report of some of the things that we found from this event, and thanks for all those that contributed, and I look forward to working with you guys in the future.